If I had a little love.
Yeah, grab somebody.
Yeah.
My name is Ryan Bolton. I'm a professional travel, commercial, and portrait photographer based in Toronto, and this is Studio 201. Yeah, I wanted to get a studio space because I was mooching off my other friends with studios a lot sometimes. With the space, so yeah, we're in Studio 201, and what I wanted was a couple things. One, a place where I could just create and have a place for that away from the home. So doing portraits and other creative projects, which is a natural part of that, but also a space for other creatives. And what we've done now with Studio 201 is we have very affordable day rates for young artists to come in, because what was happening was when I was a young artist, I couldn't get a good studio for less than $1,000 day rate. And that was definitely a limit, a barrier to entry for me, and a frustration. So even having a space for other local creatives to come in and shoot and make whatever they want and create whatever they want is important to me.
Catch me chilling with the plug in Miami. I'm looking like designer drugs from Miami. I know my haters can't stand me, cause life been too sweet, no candy.
I'm inspired by music. I love music. It's always moved me. It's always kind of taken me to a new world, you know what I mean? Especially from a young age, hearing different musicians. So that's definitely it. But strangely enough, just walking around. I love good walks. I love how, I'm always studying when I'm doing that. So I'm looking at how the light hits a building at a certain time of day, or, finding a new, just a good like laneway or an alleyway that, I could see a photo here or something like that. I think I'm always, in a city like Toronto, I'm always looking for different inspiration and different, photo spots and this and that, but that never really leaves me. And lastly, just good people. Like, I think good people are always inspiring. Like, even here at Studio 201, like, just to meet new up-and-coming talent, and not just the photographers and the models, but the hair and makeup and the talent managers and all the different people that it takes to make a production or a photo shoot or something cool. I'm inspired by it. I love to see different ways of doing things. So here's one of my favorite possessions, signed basketball from Magic Johnson to Ryan. Stay cool, just the coolest guy. And here's a signed ball from Shaq, who gave me the nickname Bossy Pants and Worry Wart. So thanks, Shaq. It's one of my favorite things to say is, like, when people get caught up on gear, I go, what kind of ball did Jordan play with? I think it was the Spalding, is what he did with it, It's the same thing. Everyone gets so caught up on gear. Yeah, gear matters, but it's what you do with it. So yeah, I've always loved film cameras as well, especially 35. So here's Paris, that was shot in 2023, but I kind of wanted it to look like 1950s or 1940s. Here's Kyoto, Japan, kind of a classic spot here. And then this was back in 2024 of going to Machu Picchu with indigenous mamas. So a lot of, only 5% of locals ever get to go to Machu Picchu. And this is a very special trip of the locals really seeing it for the first time, and getting to experience that with them was really quite a moving time. Here's me in Africa with Wilson and Jackson, which I helped work on a book with them called The Last Maasai Warriors. Amazing individuals. Here's the first Travis magazine that I worked on as editor-in-chief. Very proud of that magazine. Here's a photo of musician Lights that I actually shot with Apple. This was on portrait mode with the iPhone 10 when it first came out, which was really cool. Here's my first ad in Thrasher magazine, West 49 and Anthony. Just an amazing moment to be in a magazine like Thrasher that I've always looked up to and really thought was amazing. Hard part with this business too is it's a bit of a lone wolf game, to be honest. For instance, like I have a really good accountant and a really good lawyer, and that's kind of, and some really good assistants that I work with. But a lot of it's myself running everything that it takes to run a business. And I love that, but it's tough because to match your creativity and keep your creativity going while also, keeping the business going is sometimes a tug of rope. And what I try to do is sometimes when I'm shooting a lot for other companies and brands and stuff, you need to still shoot for yourself. So even more recently, I've been kind of shooting out in the city again and really kind of taking the time to, photograph the things I love and do my own personal projects. I'm working on a portrait project right now. And I think that's good to keep the juices going because sometimes when you're just doing it for work or business, which I love so much, it can take, and as artists, that's what we do. You're giving constantly. So you got to keep yourself, make sure you're checking in on yourself. And like I was saying about walks and, mental health and exercise, like trying to balance that all, but also even in this time of winter, I call this like my meeting time. So I'm meeting up with different creatives, having lunches and meeting up with, creative directors and different individuals. I love it because it's kind of giving the juice and it's filling up the cup again, just by other people doing the same thing in the mix. But sometimes you got to reach out to do that. You can weigh a lot of that stuff yourself and let it, but it'll compress and it'll add up. But yeah, like kind of, making sure you're checking in on yourself for sure.
I just wanna have fun. Come and pick me up, meet me at the spot. Up all night to the sunrise. Pop back cool, get ready for the ride. On the field.
One of my first big trips I did back in 2017, I believe, was with Demi Lovato. And this is just her hugging a student at an all-girls school, and just the pure joy on her face, I don't know, tells the whole story. I was in Lesotho, it's a landlocked country in South Africa, and it was just a regular day, and the rest of the group was going on horseback riding or something, and I went with 2 others just to walk this little village, and it's kind of like mud hut village style, and we came along this one mud hut, and it had a yellow flag hanging from it, and so me and the 2 other travelers met this woman that was up front and went inside, and we learned it's called a shebeen, which means makes the local alcohol, and it's like a sour beer. And we were in her little home, and she's wearing this polka dot purple dress, and there's this beautiful turquoise wall she's painted behind her, and just a window. And as she is there's a giant vat of the sour beer, and she's scooping it in, and she looks out the window, just the colors, everything perfect, just everything lined up perfectly. And I ended up winning an applied arts photojournalism award for that photo, but it was more about you could make a great photo anywhere. It didn't what I mean? It didn't really matter where we were per se, but it was just that time, the moment in the story. And then we found out more about so she became the shebeen after her husband had died, and this is her way of basically making money now. And just her story has always kind of stayed with me. So this is the photo I took in Lesotho of the village shebeen. And so as you can see here, so this is the vat of the sour beer. And something I love about this is just that there's just a window right here, just as she looks up, this perfect moment that has always stayed with me. Not necessarily barriers, but there's always a time when you're traveling that you hit the wall. It happens all the time. So it's funny because a lot of people are like, hey, you're a travel photographer, you have the best job in the world. I totally agree. But you're also doing 14 to 16 hour days. You're having sand in your eyes, and you just did a 15-hour long haul to Seoul, and you're jet lagged, but then you got to get out, and next morning you're starting to shoot, you got to get ready and you got to go. And so you're going to hit those walls all the time, and for me, it's paying respect to the country as well. It's how do you showcase it in the best possible light? As in, you're there to photograph a place. How do you do it justice? And you can never fully do it justice, but you can do your best to get there. And that's what I mean by overcoming those barriers of exhaustion or frustration or something that happens, and just trying to stay as level and even keeled as possible in those situations out of respect of what you're doing. And sometimes we lose perspective of that, but that's what we're doing. Like, we're trying to showcase the best. And sometimes, yeah, you're limited in being able to do that. But I think the persistence will get you there, you know? And that's it. It's not, you know, sometimes that one photo might not work out, but 10 photos down the line, you might get that one. And that's kind of it. It's that experience and that anticipation that you don't know when it's always gonna come, and just letting it happen naturally instead of forcing it sometimes is the best. So this is the camera that kind of changed my career for me. This is my Canon 5D Mark II. Still works, which is awesome, but this is my first full frame camera, and I don't know, it just kind of changed how I saw the world. And this thing with like a 50 mil on it, just a beast. But this thing also I took around the world, and it still works. It's a real workhorse. And I still have, yeah, the Mark III and the Mark IV as well. Just amazing, great cameras. Yeah, I think technology is always there as a tool to learn from and grow from. I never really shied away from it. I think photographers kind of adapt, and, you know, we use the tools that we can kind of get. But taking too many photos, not necessarily. Like, I still shoot film myself just for the fun and for my family and stuff. And yeah, like everyone says, it helps you slow down and work on composition. But I also, with digital, I have a rule that I talk to other photographers about called the 100-10-1 rule. Go out, shoot 100 photos of something that interests you. Pick your top 10, keep one, go do it again. Because it's gonna help you narrow down what's the story you're trying to tell here. Like, good photograph is always storytelling, right? What you can do with it. So having the ability to shoot more and get good work is great, but you're gonna have to do a numbers game. You're gonna have to shoot a lot to eventually build that portfolio. But yeah, simply go out, maybe, yeah, long exposures like I was talking about, shoot 100 one night, study 10 of your best, keep that one, rinse and repeat. Yeah, so I love working with the Juno Awards. I've been working with them for the past 8 years. Probably can't say it, but my wife would always say, "Don't be a star fucker," and she said that we're young, and what it really meant for me was that these are just people, and these are just different creators and artists that want to be treated the same, you know what I mean? So not necessarily that. Yeah, I've had the opportunity, I've traveled with like Natalie Portman and Selena Gomez over the years, Demi Lovato and Jenna Ortega, like amazing artists. And for me, it's just amazing, cool people doing things and storytelling in their own way. And being inspired by that 100%, but treating them just like I would a close friend, you know? That's something too about just even in the business is, treating others how you want to be treated and that kind of thing. But people all around the world are the same, really largely. Like, we're just looking for a little bit of respect, some coins in the pocket to have, the creature comforts of life, and usually trying to, have a good supporting friends and family. It's really quite simple on that. And seeing, the world at large for the same kind of things is beautiful, because, when people try to divide, it says a lot, because people are generally the same. It's just, you can divide people easier with fear than art sometimes, and that's frustrating. But I think that's why artists keep doing what they do, is sharing that voice and showing that, hey, actually the world is beautiful. Look at this, versus the hate mongering, conversely. It's always about learnings for me. So what I mean by that is, so I had my camera, that Canon Rebel stolen when I was in Ecuador the second time. I was sitting there with my camera between my legs, and some guy went underneath, took the camera out of the bag, and I lost all of the photos, right? Because the memory card was still in it. Still had the camera bag, and it wasn't until I got back into Quito that my bag was a little lighter, and then I realized what had happened. It was two people working together. One person sat beside me to distract. And what I learned from that was keep the SD cards on you. You know what I mean? Because I was there and I just photographed this trip of these youth in Ecuador, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful trip, but didn't have the photos. So I learned from that. And then, yeah, in all travel, there's always little learnings along the way. You know, what are the things like, for instance, a power bank. That's something that can save your day. Having your phone run out of juice or camera running out of batteries, like always being prepared. And I say a good to a great photographer is just being prepared sometimes, you know what I mean? Like making sure, hey, it's gonna be a really sunny day, maybe I need a polarizer, or it's gonna be this kind of shoot this day, this is the lenses I'm gonna bring. Sometimes you're like, oops, I brought the wrong things, but you kind of learn. So you're always learning, and then you build on that, so the next time you are prepared for whatever's gonna happen and being, you know, ready for that shot. Because one of the things about photography is sometimes that decisive moment is just that, you know what I mean? It's a split second and you can miss it. And anticipating the shot and being prepared for the shot is kind of the equation to get it sometimes, you know what I mean? And there's a beauty in that too. And I think with a lot of photographers and a lot of creators, sometimes when you get that shot, that fuels you, you know what I mean? That gets you going to the next shot and the next shot and the next shot. And yeah, I hope that never wanes. One of my favorite things about being a photographer is learning and watching other young photographers coming up. And I love when young photographers will be like, you know, how do I license a photo? How do I price this out? How do I respond back to this client? I love the idea of just giving advice and sharing advice with young creatives, because I remember when I was starting out, I didn't always have the answers at all. I still don't have the answers for most things, but listening to other perspectives will help set you up for greater success in the long run.
We're just getting started, it's a part of the game. Building anticipation, getting close to the edge.
Canada, we are great for a number of reasons, but our humility and that perseverance. Like, for instance, living in Canada, we have the 4 seasons, so that builds character. And I love Canadians are naturally funny, I find. So when I'm traveling with other Canadians, like, we're a hoot. We're always looking at different perspective or seeing things in a different way. But I think one of my favorite things about being Canadian is just our respect for others and our politeness. Sometimes we forget about it here and there, but I think at the core, that's what Canadians do, and we do support one another. And I think in this business, we see it a lot. And I say that about Toronto, so I always say, like, Toronto's good for the arts, as in Toronto will check you, you know what I mean? But it will support you. If you're real, authentic, you're putting in the work, you're putting in the time, you're creating great stuff, Toronto will support you. And I've seen it over and over with new artists coming up. But also, like I was saying, it will check you. If you're, you know, pushing limits or doing this or that or not treating people correctly, it'll kind of help realign, which I love as well. And I think that's good. It's good to have bumpers on sometimes.
No joke. No joke.
Doing nothing, bragging every day around your people know you from A. Telling me you got it, you must be doing nothing. Bragging every day around your people know you from A. Telling me you must be ridiculous.
No, y'all, I know, you know, I know. No, y'all, I know, no,
Ridiculous.
no, y'all, I know, you know, I know.
God, you're ridiculous.
We were in the Roshina, which is in the favelas, and it's a kind of one way in, one way out, very narrow. And I remember we were walking, it was a small group of us with a local guide that was from Roshina, that's why we were in there. And we were coming through, and all of a sudden I hear a whistle, and I look up to my left, and there's these 2 kids, little lookouts, that are sitting up there. And at the front, I'm at the back of the group, and at the front of the group, there's 2 guys that came forward with AK-47s. And what was happening was those guys were guards, because right behind was one of the kingpins of the favela that was holding this giant gold magnum. I'll never forget this giant gold magnum. And what was happening is it was kind of there was a little turnoff, so they were making distractions. So they took the front guy of our group and were like, he's a police officer, and gave him a hard time, while the guy with the magnum kind of went up and turned. And I remember looking back at the 2 lookout kids, and they go, like, beard, cool. And I was just like,